Namaste and welcome to Daily News Simplified, the what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we would be analyzing the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper of 22nd June 2018. Now, let us begin. Now, before moving forward in the analysis of today's paper, is first analyze the questions that have been asked in the prelims of 2018. Now, this is a continuous coverage that we would be doing for a couple of days so that you are able to understand on how you can utilize DNS and the Focus magazine in the preparation for your civil services examination. Now, the question referred here provides statements with regards to the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, wherein the government scheme of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana forms a part of your economic and social development section of your prelims examination syllabus. Now, in one of the common themes in how we try to understand government schemes is first understand its implementing agency, ministry, or department, then understand what is the purpose of that government scheme, and then finally understand what are the unique features of that government scheme. Now, if you see the question that has been asked in the prelims examination, the first feature that it asks is the implementing agency. The second statement relates to the purpose of the scheme. And the third statement is one of the unique features of the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. And it is when we try to analyze and explain a government scheme in DNS and in Focus magazine that we first tell you who is the implementing agency, department, or ministry of a particular scheme, where the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana is a flagship scheme of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. And knowing that, the first statement given in the questions of prelims of 2018, that it is the flagship scheme of the Ministry of Labour and Employment, would be wrong. Now, the second aspect that has been asked in the question in prelims of 2018 is the purpose of the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana as to whether it would impart training in soft skills, entrepreneurship, and financial and digital literacy. And in similar terms, when we analyze the government schemes, the second aspect that we provide is to what is the purpose or the objective of the scheme, wherein the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana provides soft skills improvement, mentorship support, placement facilitation, assessment and certification, and in general, industry-relevant skill training. And similarly, the third statement of the question asked in prelims of 2018 on Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana asked a unique feature correlated to the National Skill Qualification Framework, which was provided in the Special Focus edition on government schemes for the prelims of 2018 examination. So therefore, whenever you're making notes with regards to government schemes, try to make sure that you understand these three features of which agency, department, or ministry is implementing that government scheme, what is the purpose of that scheme, and what is its unique features. Wherein if you take a look at the questions that have been asked in the prelims of 2017 on government schemes, wherein the question on the prior learning scheme had asked its purpose, the question on National Nutrition Mission had also asked its objectives or its purpose. Similarly, it had asked the purpose of setting up of the small finance banks, while the question on National Skills Qualification Framework, which had also been referenced in the prelims of 2018 question that we had just discussed, had asked for the unique features. While similarly, a question on the National Career Service had asked for its implementing agency and its purpose or objective. So now hopefully up till here you've understood on how to analyze and prepare with regards to government schemes, and moreover on how DNS and the Focus magazine would aid you with regards to the preparation for your mains examination of 2018 and your prelims examination of 2019. And so now with this, let us move on to the first article for today. Now we have taken this article from page 7. Now the focus of this article. Now as per the United Nations, the hungry population in the world is rising again. And this has been provided as per the UN Sustainable Development Goals report of 2018. When according to this report, there were around 777 million people, hungry population in 2015, wherein this number has increased to 815 million people who are living in hunger in 2016. Now this has been the first increase in the hungry population in more than a decade, wherein as you can see in this graph, there has been a percentage increase in the prevalence of undernourishment in the world population. Now the major causes for this increase as highlighted by the report has been first of conflict and the second of disasters caused by climate change, wherein conflicts in Yemen, Syria, Sudan, among other places in the world have led to an increase in the number of people who are hungry within these countries. And in similar terms, disaster caused through climate change, such as the hurricanes in Caribbean islands, have further led to an increase in the world's hungry population. Now hopefully up till here you have understood that the United Nations under its UN Sustainable Development Goals report of 2018 has shown that the hungry population in the world is rising again, wherein the number of hungry population in the world in 2015 was around 777 million, which has increased to 815 million in 2016. And this has been the first increase in the world's hungry population after a decade period. Now, as per the report, the major causes for this increase is first conflict, such as the conflict in Syria, Yemen, Sudan, among other countries. And the second major cause is of disasters caused through climate change, such as the recent hurricanes in the Caribbean islands. Now, apart from this report also provides region-specific report. So let us understand as to what the report has said about South Asia. Now, according to the report, in South Asia, there has been a 40% drop in risk of child marriages. The second main aspect about South Asia highlighted in the article and in the report is that the water stress level is above 70% in South Asia. And therefore, South Asia is in current danger of water scarcity. And the third main aspect highlighted in this article is that South Asia has the worst form of air pollution. And the fourth and the final aspect highlighted in the article is that there has been improvement in electricity and sanitation in South Asia. Now, hopefully, up till here, you've also understood that the UN Sustainable Development Goals Report 2018 provides region specific data. So, therefore, as per this report, in South Asia, there has been a 40% drop in the risk of child marriages. Moreover, according to this report, the water stress level is above 70% in South Asia, and therefore, this region is in current danger of water scarcity. Apart from this, the report also highlights that South Asia currently has the worst form of air pollution in the world. And lastly, a positive aspect shown in the report is that South Asia currently has improved in electricity and in sanitation. Now, for your prelims examination, one important aspect that you should remember is that the United Nations releases the Sustainable Development Goals report, wherein previously questions have been asked, when the first question as to which organization released the Rule of Law Index was asked in the prelims of 2018, while the second question on who prepares the Global Financial Stability Report was asked in the prelims of 2016. Wherein questions such as these, as to which organization prepares which report, are continuously asked in your UPSC prelims examination. And within that context, it is important for you to remember as to who prepares the Sustainable Development Goals report. So now hopefully you have understood the basic facts that have been highlighted in the UN Sustainable Development Goals report of 2018. And so now let us move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 7. Now what this article talks about is whether Delhi should be given statehood. Now with regards to this article, we will not go into the political aspects, but what we'll do is understand the background facts about Delhi and its current status as union territory and its demand for statehood. Now currently, Delhi is a union territory and has been listed as one in the Schedule 1 of the Indian Constitution. Now what earlier happened is that the Balakrishnan Committee was constituted in 1987 with the purpose for looking into the demand for statehood by Delhi. Now, the Balakrishnan Committee had recommended that Delhi should be constituted as a union territory, but it should also be provided with a legislative assembly and a council of ministers. Now, apart from this, the Balakrishnan Committee also recommended that the provisions for a legislative assembly and a council of ministers should be incorporated in the Constitution of India, and moreover, that the national capital as Delhi should be given a special status as among the union territories of India. So after the 69th Amendment Act of 1991, Article 239AA and Article 239AB were added to the Constitution of India, thereby giving constitutional status to the National Capital Territory of Delhi. Now this Article 239AA requires Delhi to form an elected legislative assembly, which is empowered to legislate on all subjects that have been listed in Schedule 11, which is the state list. However, the Legislative Assembly of Delhi is not empowered to legislate on subjects of public order, police, and land. Now, what happened in 2015? That an amendment was raised wherein the powers of Delhi's anti-corruption branch was taken away, and this power of Delhi's anti-corruption branch was transferred to the central government. And apart from this, the Department of Services, which decides the appointment and transfers of all officers of the Delhi government, including the IAS officers, were transferred to the Lieutenant Governor, as per the orders of the Ministry of Home Affairs in 2015. Now this order of the Ministry of Home Affairs had a big impact, wherein the administrative functioning of Delhi government is now dependent more heavily upon the central government. And apart from this, according to the author in the article, it has impacted the day-to-day functioning, wherein the professional relationships between the elected members of the Delhi Legislative Assembly and the bureaucrats have been diluted since the bureaucrats are no longer answerable to the MLAs or the elected members of Legislative Assembly of Delhi. And according to the author in the article, it has resulted in disruption of work of those that have been proposed by the Delhi government, such as in the field of education, health, water, and electricity. And lastly, the main critique of the impact of this 2015 order of the Ministry of Home Affairs is that it dilutes the mandate of the citizens of Delhi in the form of the election of the Delhi government. And in similar terms, it also dilutes the mandate that has been given to the Delhi Legislative Assembly that has been given in the Constitution of India. So now hopefully up till here you've understood the points that have been given by the three authors in this article, wherein this article forms a part of your GS paper 2, within the subsection Issues and Challenges Pertaining to the Federal Structure, wherein previously a question has been asked in your UPSC mains examination, which had asked to discuss the essential features of the 69th Constitutional Amendment Act and the various anomalies that are present in this act with regards to the conflict between the Lieutenant Governor and the elected representatives in the administration of Delhi. And this article gives you a sectional understanding to answer this question. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken the second article from page 1 and the first article from the editorial page on page 8. Now what both of these articles talk about is the global trade war that is going on between the United States and other countries such as India, China, and countries of the European Union. Now what has happened is India has notified higher tariffs on several items that are imported from the United States, such as agricultural products like apples, almonds, chickpeas, lentils, walnuts, and in addition to industrial inputs such as some grades of iron and steel products. And these higher tariffs on the imports from the United States would be amounting to roughly around $240 million. Now, India has announced that these tariffs would come into account from August of 2018, and thereby it leaves room for further discussion between the United States and India before the new rates are implemented. Now, the reason India has notified higher tariffs on imports from the United States is because it is a form of retaliation against the US tariffs that they have imposed on steel and aluminum imports from India. And apart from this, the United States has also engaged in tariff wars with China and the countries of the European Union, wherein both China and the countries of the European Union have also retaliated with higher tariffs on the imports from United States. Now what had earlier happened is that all of this trade war began in March of 2018 when US President Donald Trump signed an order imposing a 25% tariff on steel imports and 10% tariff on aluminum imports on various countries such as Canada, countries of the European Union, and China. Then after this, the US President Donald Trump also imposed new tariffs roughly around 200 billion worth on Chinese imports. And this decision of the United States saw retaliation from China, who again imposed a tariff worth about $50 billion on American goods. And earlier this month, the European Union also joined the trade war, wherein they also imposed tariffs worth about $3.3 billion on the import of American goods. And now India has also imposed tariffs as a form of retaliation against the tariffs imposed by the United States. And this is what the author calls a dangerous spiral, wherein this current tariff war may lead to a global trade war, wherein this retaliatory form of tariffs that are being imposed by major powers would lead to a global trade war. Now, according to the author in the editorial, this retaliatory form of tariffs would basically mean that either country would have to look for other sources or either they have to import their product at higher prices. And according to the author, this would have a negative impact on world trade and this would also undermine global growth. Wherein, according to the author, consumers in both India and the United States would be the major losers in this global trade war, since they would have to pay a higher price for imports. Apart from this, the author also highlights that such tariff wars will also affect global financial markets, and investors will now shy away from investing in particular segments such as steel and aluminium. And according to the author, the only gainer in this trade war will be special interest groups, wherein the author has highlighted that the US steel industry, which is a major vote bank for Donald Trump, would be one of the beneficiaries of this trade war, since most of the import tariffs being imposed by the United States are on steel and aluminium. So now hopefully up till here, you have gotten a brief understanding of the global trade war that the article talks about. Now you have to understand that this global trade war and India's notification of higher tariffs on US imports are news in transition. And we'll have to wait and see on how the higher Indian tariffs will come into effect from August of 2018 and how the discussions between the United States and India before August of 2018 move forward. And because of this, let us move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 11. Now this article has not been taken in the daily news headlines or DNH because this article did not contain information that would have helped you in your civil services examination. But what we'll do with regards to this news is understand 3 facts about International Yoga Day from your prelims examination perspective. Now International Yoga Day is held on 21st June and this was declared unanimously by the United Nations General Assembly. And the reason 21st June was taken as International Yoga Day because it marks the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, wherein 21st June marks summer's solstice. And according to Indian mythology, the first full moon after the summer solstice is known as Guru Purnima, and Lord Shiva, the first yogi or the Adi Yogi, is said to have begun imparting the knowledge of yoga to the rest of the mankind on Guru Purnima, and thereby becoming the first Guru or Adi Guru. So now hopefully up till here you understood the 3 basic facts about International Yoga Day. That it is celebrated on 21st June, that 21st June was declared as International Yoga Day unanimously by the United Nations General Assembly. And the reason 21st June has been chosen as International Yoga Day is that it marks the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, thereby marking what is known as summer solstice. And these facts should be known with regards to your prelims examination. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 11. Now what this article talks about is the 2+2 dialogue between India and the United States. Now the upcoming 2+2 dialogue on 6th of July between India and the United States and issues with regards to the foundational agreements such as COMCASA have already been covered in the DNS from 19th June. And you can further refer to that video to understand about the 2+2 dialogue and the 4 foundational agreements. However, you have to understand that this news is currently in transition. So we'll have to wait and see on how the 2+2 dialogue between India and the United States moves forward. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now I've taken this article from page 9. Now what this article talks about is the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2016 and the issues it has raised in Assam with regards to the Assam Accord. Now this has already been covered in a much previous DNS video, as in what is the Citizenship Amendment Bill, what are the issues in Assam, and how the Citizenship Amendment Bill has raised concerns with regards to the Assam Accord. So what we'll do is again revise this. Now the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2016 seeks to allow illegal migrants from specific religious minorities such as Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs, among others, who are from Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan eligible for Indian citizenship, and wherein these illegal migrants do not be imprisoned or deported. However, various groups in Assam are not happy with the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2016, wherein the first concern that has been raised is that it would allow post-1971 Hindu migrants to stay in Assam, which in turn leads to the fear of a changed demography, which is based on language and ethnicity. And the second concern that has been raised is that it violates 1985 Assam Accord, wherein under this accord it prescribed deportation of illegal aliens that had entered Assam after 24th March 1971. Now hopefully up till here you've understood as to why this article was in the news, wherein the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2016 seeks to allow illegal migrants from specific religious minorities such as Hindus, Sikhs, Jain, Parsis or Christian religious communities who are minorities in Afghanistan, Bangladesh or Pakistan, wherein under this bill, such illegal migrants would be eligible for Indian citizenship, and these illegal migrants will not be imprisoned or deported. And these provision of the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2016 has raised concerns among various groups in Assam, wherein it would allow post-1971 or the post-Bangladesh War Hindu migrants to stay in Assam, wherein there is a fear of demographic change based on language and ethnic identities. And the second concern raised is that it violates the 1985 Assam Accord, wherein under the accord, it prescribed the deportation of illegal aliens which had entered into Assam after 24th March 1971. Now you have to understand that this news is in transition. When according to the article, it has been made clear that the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2016 will not be tabled in Parliament in the monsoon session, and the Joint Parliamentary Committee that was formed to examine the Citizenship Amendment Bill will be holding wider consultations. So we'll have to wait and see on how the Joint Parliamentary Committee moves forward with this. And so now with this, we move on to the next article.